Shalom everyone, we are in Parashat Tazria and we can find it in the book of Leviticus, Sefer Vayikra, chapter 12, verse 1. And here it is, it starts with the words, V'daber Hashem Moshe lemor, and God spoke to Moses saying, Daber bnei Yisrael lemor, Isha ki Tazria v'yalda zachar. A woman, when she gives semen, that's how it sounds like, although we know women do not give semen. V'yalda zachar, and then she gives birth to a boy. Okay? And then it says she'll be impure for 7 days. And after 7 days, on the 8th day, will be the circumcision of the child. 30 days and 3 days, she'll be sitting, the mother, cleansing. Bechol kodesh lo tigash, she won't touch any holy thing till she's completed. Now, this issue is the beginning of the parasha, and it's not a long chapter, only 8 verses. Chapter 13 is already about the laws of leprosy. Now, let's see how these connect to each other. The first issue is, since it is mentioned in many places, in the Talmud and in the Zohar, what do you mean a woman will inseminate and give birth to a boy? Women do not inseminate. And what many of the commentators are saying, it should be said, a woman will get pregnant, give birth to a boy, right? Or if a woman gave birth to a boy, because if she gave birth to a boy, she had to get pregnant sometime, right? So what is this thing about using the word seed to inseminate? The word Tazria, the name of the parasha, comes from the shoresh Zayin Reish Ayin Zera, which is a seed. Okay? So now we have the Zohar asking, does that mean that if she does that thing, that we have no idea what she's doing, and nobody has an idea, all the commentators, then this is a guarantee to have a boy? Wow, a lot of people really worked very hard, including myself, to know what are the theories, because you want to get boys, you know. Not everybody gets boys immediately, but some people, you know, after 7 girls, you get a boy, if ever. Okay? Not my case, but still. Well, we know it's an issue for many people. They want to have a boy. You want to have a girl, you want to have a boy. Sometimes. So what do you have to do in order to do that? And here comes the Zohar and says, we're reading in the Zohar of the Parashat Tazria, verse 10, in the commentary of Rabbi Ashlag. V'yalda zachar, she gives birth to a boy. V'chi keivan shemazrat yoledet. The moment she gets a seed, she gives birth. Halo be'harayon telo yadavar. The giving birth depends on pregnancy. Hakatuv hazeh היה צריך lomar, it should have been written, Isha ki tahar v'yalda zachar. A woman will get pregnant and she'll give birth for a boy. Okay? So what is this thing about using this terminology that if you weren't to use the verb Tazria, which is take the words for a seed, making a verb out of it. Zera is a noun. Tazria is a verb. If she gives the seed, she'll give birth to a boy. Why is this word being used over here? So the Zohar continues. Rabbi Chizkiah Patach, verse 11 in the Zohar. Ma rabu ma'asecha Hashem. How many are your actions? That's a psalm to the Creator. How many are the actions of the Holy King in the world? It's like a person that takes in his hand a whole bunch of seeds and he plants them at once. Each seed will come out the way it is. If it has a DNA of wheat, wheat will come out. If it has a DNA of peas, peas will come out, right? Corn will come out. It will never be different. Okay? This is the way the Creator does his actions in wisdom. Wisdom, we're not talking about, being smart. Mm-hmm. Wisdom means it's a level in the structure of the creation, in the evolutionary process. That's a level that everything is already there. That's called Chokhmah. Kulam bechokhmah asita. You did all of them already in Chokhmah, in the level of Chokhmah. What does it mean? In the beginning, in the stage that is called Chokhmah, everything was always already created. Not just everything, every action, every road, every path, everything was already created in that level that is called Chokhmah. Now, each one of them, when it's time to sprout, will sprout exactly the way it was designated. זה שכתוב כולם בחוכמה עשית, as it says you did them all in חוכמה. This is from Psalms 104. Okay? ואינם יוצאים לחוץ אלא בשבילים ידועים, and when they come out and manifest the known ways, which are called Lamed Bet Netivot Chokhmah, the 32 paths of wisdom. Okay? To the level that is called Bina, Sfirat Bina, which is underneath Chokhmah. And from Bina, everything comes out and being established. זה שכתוב בתבונה יתכונן. Everything will be established in Bina. Okay. Now we'll skip few actions and few issues. And now, in order to understand that, let's go back to the story of a woman getting pregnant. Remember? How is that connected to this issue? Because if everything was already created, everything, not just whatever is going to be there, every item and object and creature, also their past, whatever they're going to do. So where is the free will? Where is our free will to choose? Okay? So he gives an example. Let's go back to the issue of a woman getting pregnant. Verse 14. When a person comes to sanctify himself and to unite with his wife, ברצון הקדוש שלו, connecting to the holy will of the Creator, when a person does that, a Holy Spirit awakens from above. And then the Creator gives a hint to an angel who's responsible for human pregnancy. That's how the Zohar says. And he gives to him that soul of the person that is going to be born from that relations between that man and a woman. And he tells him, the Creator tells the angel where to put that soul. Okay? As Yored Ruach, then that soul is coming down to the physical, mundane world, plane, and he has with him Tselem Echad. What is Tselem? Tselem in Hebrew is an image. An image with the context speaking about here, it's like a shadow. Okay? אותו צלם העומד בצורה של מעלה. But that shadow is a spiritual thing. שנקרא צלם אלוקים, the image of God. בצלם הזה הוא נברא. So when a physical human being is being created, he's being created through that צלם. בצלם הזה הולך בעולם הזה. With this צלם, he walks around in this world. זה שכתוב, אך בצלם יתהלך איש. A human being can walk around only with a tselem. So what is this tzelem? So Rabbi Zakluya is saying when you have two dimensions, one is very spiritual, one is physical. You need something in between to connect the two because, same thing. The computer, your computer, if you have a computer or your telephone, smartphone, speaks one language, binary, 0 or 1. You don't speak binary, you speak human language, English, Hebrew, Chinese, whatever. So you need a system that will translate the computer language to your language and your language to the computer language. Otherwise, you cannot tell the computer what to do. And you won't understand what the computer tells you. Correct? So you need something in between. Same thing. This language of the soul is totally out of this world. And the language of the body is this world. They don't speak the same language. They need an tzelem to connect between the two. Where is this tzelem coming from? So let's continue. Now this tzelem is the connection between the two sides, and a human being can live only when he has that tzelem. When this tzelem leaves the person, 30 days later, the person will die. Okay? You can't live more than 30 days without the tzelem. Now, there's something very interesting about it. Since the tzelem is our connection to our spirit, our soul, it says, the Zohar continues, verse 16, בספרם של המחשבים של השמדי, in the book of the wizards of the king of the demons, it says, שאלו הרוצים לעשות כשפים, if you want to do black magic, you invite your tzelem to the magic that you do, and when you subjugate your tzelem to the dark side, you start to have communication with the dark side. Okay? That's one way. And when you invite the forces of the dark side, then your tzelem is becoming under the dark side, but then the person goes from under the rulership of the creator. He's now connected to that network that is called the dark side. And, you get, it's a package deal. Nobody ever flourished for long connecting to the dark side. The dark side has a self-destructive mechanism. So you gain a lot in the beginning by being selfish, and then you lose it all. Okay? Now, there's another way that you subjugate your tzelem to the dark side. בהורי אסור לו לאדם לזרוק לביתו דבר אחר שכמותו בכעסו. When a person is angry and he lets the anger take over and he gets so angry that he's starting to throw things, you shouldn't do that, because in that moment you cannot have blessings dwelling on you. Because you subjugate at that time, it's like you invite in the dark side to take over your tzelem. Okay. Now, so we know that our life is dependent on that tzelem, and it's even more than that. Let's explain how it goes. The Zohar says also that some people can see, they have ability to see stuff. Not the whole thing, but some of it, like auras. Some people can see an aura. Most people can't. Okay? And other stuff. If a person will have the ability to see, he will be there in the bedroom when a couple is having relations, that a child is going to be born out of it. On that moment, an image will appear above the heads of the couple, and that image will have the exact image of that child when he grows up and becomes a grown-up. Okay. This is the aim, the tzelem. Now, why is that important? Because we know that when a woman gets pregnant, she does not get into the pregnancy. The lowest level of the soul of the child does not come in. It's called nefesh. It does not come in to the child. It does not descend into the body of the child before 40 complete days are over from fertilization. So, if the nefesh comes in only after 40 days, how do we know 40 days? There's a law that says when a woman is giving birth, when a Jewish woman is giving birth to a first boy, it's her first child, which is also a boy. If it was the first birth and the first pregnancy, then you do what is called pidyon ben, redemption of the firstborn. This is one condition, that she is not a Levite and not a Kohen, and her husband is not a Levite and not a Kohen. Okay? However, if she was pregnant before and she had a miscarriage or an abortion, that's not the first birth, so there's no pidyon ben, redemption of the firstborn. However, if the miscarriage was before 40 days were over to the pregnancy, since there was no one over there, it doesn't count, she was pregnant. So the next child, if it's a boy, she can do a redemption of the firstborn. So who is there in the fetus till 40 days? And the answer is the tzelem. How is the tzelem being created? So let's go forward. So let's go back to verse 9, and the Zohar is getting to this discussion about who determines the gender of the baby. Okay? Which is a very basic issue about free will, right? Is that God who decides everything? If everything was created in Chokhmah, then God knows in advance. And if God knows in advance what I'm going to do I have free will? No. So if I have no free will and everything happened to me because it was in the movie, it was part of my spiritual DNA, so you can't put on any person any responsibility for anything wrong they've done. On the other hand, you cannot reward anyone for anything good they did because it was out of your free will. You just did it because you had to. Correct? So where's free will? And when you study Kabbalah, you study the whole Bible, it's all about free will. You have to take responsibility. So where is the free will if everything is written down? And the seeds are already being determined. So, Lamadnu, verse 9, in the Zohar. Isha mazra tchila yoledet zachar. If a woman, she inseminates first, we have no idea what does it mean, she gives birth to a boy. Rabbi Yecha Amar, זה שלמדנו, but we learn that שהקדוש ברוך הוא גוזר על הטיפה, but we learn in another place that the Creator, He decrees on the drop of semen if it's going to be a boy or a girl. Now we know, if it was an X chromosome, it was a girl. If it's a Y chromosome, it is a boy. Now we know. ואתה אומר אישה מזרה תחילה יולדת זכר? And you say, depends on the woman. You know, for many years, the woman was responsible if there were no boys. It was her fault. Later on, they discovered that, you know, the woman eggs are always with an X chromosome. It depends on the semen of the father. But if it is a Y or an X, so there's no need for God's decree, right? See what Rabbi Yossi says. ודאי שהקדוש ברוך הוא מבחין בין טיפה של זכר ובין טיפה של נקבה. Of course the Creator can tell if it's a sperm of a boy of a girl. Now we know, he can tell, you know, he can see if it's an X or Y. And after he sees what it is, he decrees. He agrees. How do we know? Every time a fertile couple having relations, they get pregnant? No. It needs a permit from above. Why? Because the Creator can say, let me explain. The Creator can say one thing, let's explain it even deeper. What is this tzelem? So Rabbi Zakloria explains that when the couple are having their relations, there is a very powerful energy that is being generated when two people are having sex. Now, what kind of an energy is being generated depends what was on their minds at that moment. Right? Could be very passionate, could be very non-passionate, could be very loving, could be kind of resenting, it could be, right? Could be tired, could be very excited, right? Could be very holy, could be very selfish, could be very loving towards your mate, could be really, who cares about the other one? Correct? And you have all the spectrum in between. So when a couple are having a relation, usually they don't think about it. They just, today, it's mostly either a sport, right? It's a way to get pleasure like a sport, right? Or really having a unification between two souls, okay? However, the energy that is being generated between the couple at that moment creates a tzelem, creates a spirit that it has a life of its own. And if that spirit is in the same wavelength, or he has affinity to a soul that has to come to this world, there's a click. It's like there's a big bang up there in the storage of all the souls. Hey, we have a match. A soul is already being chosen. Who chose it? The dialing of the couple. The energy force they created that moment, and that energy force can be seen, says Rabbi Zakloria, through the life of the child. Let's say if the parents were very hyper, you see a ADHD child can't sit for a second, says Rabbi Zakloria, because the parents, especially the father, was very up. But if the father was really tired at that moment, sometimes, he comes home, he walked for a few days in a row, in a shift. His wife is coming home and his wife is saying, look, I just ovulated. Let's go to bed. The guy says, last thing I want right now, I want to sleep. She says, no, you have to impregnate myself. So he's so tired, he's falling asleep in between. The child will be slow. Why? Because he was tired. Now, remember, everything, all the seeds are already in the storage, which means it's not that you make the child slow. A soul that has an issue with being slow will come. You understand? Yeah. It's like, that tzelem is like, pick your choice. Pick your choice. What is your choice? Now, most people, while having sex, don't think about that. They don't think that whatever is on your mind and your heart and your emotions, everything is imprinted in that thing that is called tzelem, and it sends a beep to the storage of the souls. And if that beep fits a soul, you got one. Now the soul was chosen. The soul does not start to come in only on the 40th day after fertilization. So who's there with a sperm cell that has, in every ejaculation of a man, there are millions of sperm cells. Each one of them is different genetically. Why? You need to find one that fits that tzelem. So the tzelem chooses that sperm cell, and that sperm cell is now being escorted to the egg till fertilization. So, do we have a choice about what kind of a child are we going to have? Yes, we do, if we know about that wisdom. So the Zohar says, if the thoughts of the couple were to sanctify, to connect to the Creator, in order to create positive energy of love in the universe, because when a man and a woman are in love with each other and they really unite with a lot of love, that generates love in the whole world. Okay? So if you sanctify yourself by mikveh, prayers, Ana Bechoach, reading the Zohar, whatever, the frequency of the mindset of the parents is going to be in a very high level, and the tzelem will be in a high level, and the soul that will come in will be fitting that level. But what we say, what if one of the parents was upset? What if was angry? What if there was hatred? You know, sometimes, a couple having sex and one is angry about the other. They don't say no, but, there's anger. Happens. What kind of a child will come out? You take right now, what about rape? Violence. You pick up a soul from a catalog. You don't want to have someone like this hanging out in your house for the rest of your life, because, that child can stay very long in your home and anywhere in your life. So that moment of unity or pleasure or whatever you call it can result with something that affects your life for who knows how long. One of the proofs, a lot of people say you shouldn't study Kabbalah before you're 40. Hello, now you're telling me? I was supposed to study that before I get married. Before 20, then the business starting. Some people start at 20, 25, 20, yeah. Before 40, most people already had, you can have children after 40, but that's less often than most people. They make the children between 20 to 40, right? You should study that earlier, because if I knew that, I would put more thought and more focus on my relationship with my mate. If I knew that, maybe I wouldn't have just a child like this. So what we're talking about here is something that is very, very powerful. So we're talking that during intercourse, a husband and a wife, a man and a woman, their thoughts will be imprinted, and the result will be a child that will manifest their emotions at that moment and their thoughts for many years after. The child can live for 120 years. When the person dies, his soul is leaving. What happens to the tzelem? The tzelem stays in the bones. So when you visit somebody in the grave, the soul is not there. It left already. What's left is what his parents created of the moment of conception. That little tzelem can stay for centuries and millennia, till the resurrection of the dead. How would the soul know to come to that bone or another? Beep, beep, beep. There's a tzelem beeping over there. So what do we learn from that? The Zohar the Torah is dealing with extreme. It's a very extreme, because how many children do you get in a lifetime? 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20. That's over, right? Some people do. Mm-hmm. Most people less. But that moment can be crucial, is crucial, for if you have a child, you don't have a child, what kind of child you have. That moment is crucial. But what do you think? If a person had dirty thoughts, dirty speech, dirty behavior, negative, impure, selfish, and so on, and then he knows he wants to bring a child to the world, by overnight, over an hour, you become a righteous person and you just have positive thoughts and positive energy in a moment it is so emotional. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't turn so fast. In order to be spiritual and focused and positive and enlightened in such a moment that is so much controlled by body fluids and stuff like this, and body lower emotions, you need to train all your life to overcome the body dark side, right? So that's why the Zohar says when you're young and getting married, you should have a bunch of kids. But when you're older and you still can have children, get another bunch. Now, why? You probably got better, so you can pull from a higher catalog. Okay? So, but is that what we have to tell over here? What about people that are not going to have children anymore? For different reasons. One of them is age. Okay? What does that part of the Torah portion has to tell us? You know, there's a saying, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Today is the seed for the life that is going to grow from now on. What determines what kind of a seed do you plant? Consciousness. Consciousness. We have the choice. Because the free will we have is about how pure can we get? How altruistic can we get? How positive and holy can we get? Why is that important? Because that is the seed we can draw from Chokhmah. The seed of what? Of the tree that is going to grow, and it's called the rest of my life. Can I change the tselem that my parents created? And by the way, the tselem did not determine who am I going to be. The tselem determined if I'm coming to my parents or to somebody else. Right? I was supposed to be that person no matter what. My parents simply dialed the number, the sequence, and they got me at that moment. Right? Each one of us. Now, if my parents had a different mindset at that night, and they were thinking in different frequency, they will pull in another child. Or no one. As we said again, most fertile couple, when they have relations, don't get pregnant. Why? They did not create a tselem that fits to anyone in the storage. But applying that to our world is about, if we're talking about those seeds, that is to be applied to everything we do. Every decision-making process, every relationship we have, every interaction we have arouses inside us a kind of an emotion. It could be passionate, could be excitement, could be hatred, could be anger, could be positive, could be negative, could be strong, could be weak. Now, what do we do with that? Do we have any free will? And the answer is yes. We can, the moment we study Kabbalah or any kind of spirituality, the first thing you learn is to be aware to your emotions. Yes, I am aware that I am right now frustrated. I am upset. I am happy. I am feeling unconditional love. I'm aware to it. Okay? The moment I'm aware to it, if my emotions and my mindset is godly, go for it. Go for it, because you're going to plant a seed that will be blessed by the Creator because you put a good seed. And then this seed will grow into all kinds of events in your life that fit that seed that you just planted. However, what if I had this emotional reaction which is typical to who I am, and it is not positive? You know, we all have some not so positive emotions. And I let that take over my mind, imagination, logic, thinking, whatever, and I act upon it. My words, action, and stuff like this. Now, what kind of a seed did I plant? Not so good. The Creator has a seed like this also in Chokhmah. What the Kabbalists explain, he has a seed in case I messed up. His seed will grow in a way that will force me to face my choice again and again and again, till I say enough is enough. I don't want to choose that emotions anymore. I don't want to choose that state of mind anymore. I want to rise above it, and I'll fight for it. You fight for it, you win, if you fight good enough. Okay? Then you get another seed. So, when it says God can tell the difference between a sperm cell of a male and a sperm cell of a female, but who determines what soul comes in? The couple. Same thing over here. God knows what was your choice. He sends into your choice the DNA of the next stage. What is your life going to look like in the next week, month, years, according to the choice you have made? So, if a person is aware of it and is training himself all the time, like basic, this is what Kabbalah is about. To be aware to my emotions, to ask myself, do I want to be that person that these emotions, do I want to plant a seed that these emotions symbolize? And it's not just a symbol, it's a reality. Do I want the reality that these emotions come with? You don't? Shut it down and connect to the light. Connect to purity. Connect to love. Connect to wholesomeness. Connect to something, to a bigger picture. You did it. The Creator will approve of your choice, and He will give you a seed that will sprout based on those emotions you chose. Now, you can choose something that is more positive than you had before, then something even more positive, more intense, but that's all of those seeds are in God's storage in Chokhmah. You just have to make the choice, and the Creator will approve over your choice. So, now, how is that connected to the rest of the parasha? The rest of the parasha is about the purification of the female. What does it mean, purification? Purification, it's you want to have your life moving forward. Everything that happened to you has to be choosing a higher level of purification. For instance, a woman is giving birth. It's very rarely that with so much pain, she gets a little bit emotionally imbalanced. That's normal, right? It's like, it's not normal if they don't, right? Because in such pain, it's terrible. You know, men don't give birth because they will die. They can't, they're not strong enough. Okay, but women, they endure, but still, that can get them. So there are special procedures of purification after the birth, so she can go over and move on. If she doesn't go through it, you know, there's some danger, like, you know, there's a depression after birth and stuff like this. You have to go into purification. But chapter 13, it speaks about leprosy. And if you read the whole parasha about leprosy and how leprosy is being dealt with, if somebody had leprosy, he didn't go to the physician. He went to the Kohen, to the man of God, to the man who served in the temple. You have a disease, you go to a physician. You don't go to a priest. Big mistake. What's the point is? What the Zohar is saying. When a person, first of all, has all kinds of blemishes in his body, it starts from the soul. If you just fix it on the outside, it usually has the nature to reappear. Why? Because that's what it happens. You know, if you have a water leak, so what do? You put some plaster and paint over it. Would that fix it? No, because you didn't solve the source. What is the source? The source is leprosy. Leprosy is, in Hebrew, a leopard is metzora. And the sages are saying metzora is coming from the word motzira, giving bad name to others. When a person is speech and actions that come out of him are ra, evil, what do you think is going to happen when somebody talks to you? When somebody does something you don't like? When somebody does something you do like? Everything that you see is being interpreted as serving your selfish, volatile nature. What will be the result? You're blemished. You are blemishing your tzelem. And the result is, if you came with a certain, let's say, blemishes on your soul when you were born, it will be becoming worse, because every time you speak evil on others, every time you speak evil about the creation, every time you're sour about stuff, instead of how are we going to solve it? Or, I'm not going to solve it, let somebody else solve it, I have something else to solve. But the moment we choose to be negative, that choice, the result is our level of energy goes down. And that's how it's going to be manifest when it becomes chronic leprosy. Not leprosy which is being called like this by modern scientific medicine. We're talking about the biblical leprosy, if you really read the details, had nothing to do with it. Leprosy was a result of a situation in which the person denied his right, his birthright, to choose light over darkness, sweet over bitter, positive over negative. When you choose the wrong seeds, the result is it becomes a chronic disease, and that's called leprosy. The chronic disease is that the first thing is that the Kohen will see something is not healthy in your aura. At that time, the Kohen was able to heal that, to get you in a situation in which you will heal that with his help and support, till finally you cleanse yourself down. When you did that cleansing, the leprosy will disappear. Right? Mm-hmm. That's why if you go through the Bible, you cannot see anyone having pneumonia or any infections. They were healed when the disease was still on the level of the weakening of the tzelem of the person, his aura. They realized they were sick before they were physically sick. They just felt something is wrong with my thinking. And when your thinking is stinking, and you not fix it, then your body will start stinking. And that's why you have to watch your mouth, never to say anything evil. You know what they say? If you don't have something positive to say, you better shut up. Because everything negative you say, especially when you're angry, as the Zohar said, you deliver the power over your tzelem to the dark side. And what comes with it's a package deal with all the troubles. So, if the whole book of Leviticus is about free will, it's about cleansing, about purity. Just being pure is not just about, oh, it's so nice to be pure, but I have no time for that. Some people are righteous, I have a life. If you badmouth the people you work with, you badmouth your family, you badmouth everyone around, you speak with hate speech towards whoever you know and whoever you don't know, don't be surprised when you see that the seeds that you plant in your life come out crooked, sick, and they fall apart finally. Because that is the outcome. So, make sure that whatever you say brings positivity to yourself, to the people that listen, to the energy of the house that is around it. Don't mess it up. Don't make it dirty. And it is known. In the 60s, there were a new wave of psychiatry saying, when you have terrible emotions, you have to let it go. You can't just keep it inside you. You're going to get an ulcer or all kinds of diseases. And then during the 90s, 30 years later, research has shown that was a very bad idea. When people allow themselves to speak terribly, they contaminated the environment. Working places, family, everybody just spoke whatever is on their minds. They just made it worse. So what do? Holding it inside? No, we didn't say you have to hold it inside. We have to say when you find it inside, kill it. How do you kill it? When you focus on the darkness, you give it life. When you focus on light, what happens to the darkness? It disappears by itself. It dies because you're not feeding it. So when you're aware of your emotions and you choose, I know you, I know that emotion, I know it's not what I want to be and it's not what I want to feel. So I choose to feel something else. What happens to the old emotion? Simply disappears. And sometimes it appears few more times, but if you're determined and focused, doing it again and again, a day comes, maybe weeks later, maybe months later, maybe years later, that the same person comes to you, he says the same word in the same uncomfortable way, and look surprised at that person, and you say to yourself, I remember being so annoyed by this, and today I'm so much in shock. It doesn't annoy me. I just feel like helping him. Why? Because you planted the proper seed, and the tree that grew up is the new you, that is more pure, more positive, more productive, more close to the person you want to become. So this is what Tazria is about planting the right seeds. And we have opportunities for that every day, many times every day. So make the right choices and prepare yourself. Thank you.